A regional rematch for the national championship as Alabama and Georgia prove beyond a shadow of a doubt they are the best two teams in college football. While Georgia's been number one for most of the season, Alabama needed a late season push just to make the playoff. There were two unbeaten teams in all of college football when Alabama entered the SEC championship game, Georgia and Cincinnati. Bama beat them both in back-to-back games. Now, Nick Saban on the cusp of back-to-back national titles.
Preparation is going to be really, really important for us to go out there and be able to execute the way we need to be able to have any chance of success at all.
But Saban is in an unfamiliar role as an underdog, despite beating Georgia in the SEC championship game, and despite the fact that he has owned the Dogs for more than a decade. The Tide have won 7 straight in the series, including the national championship game 4 years ago. But Kirby Smart believes this year's team, and this game in particular, will be different.
We've worked really hard the last 30 days at getting better at us. So our guys are excited and looking forward to this opportunity on the biggest stage there is.
Will Georgia finally end its 41-year title drought, or will Alabama's reign continue? It's time to crown our national champion. You know it's title night because Josh Pate has the biceps out. Danny Kanell's got the turtleneck rocking at the college football fan experience there in Indianapolis. Josh, I want to start with you here because you grew up right on the border of Georgia and Bama. What does this rivalry mean to the people down there?
Yeah, Chris, the Chattahoochee River is not just a line in an Alan Jackson song. It's a literal river. Some of us grew up on it, and it divides Alabama and Georgia. We were talking on Late Kick the other night. It sounds very weird. Danny, it would sound weird to you. You didn't grow up naturally just within that rivalry. So you would think if I told you, I don't know what Georgia fans would celebrate first tonight, the title win or a win over Alabama, you would think that's crazy. This is a national championship game. And yet it means so much. Like, forget about the hokey taglines. It really does mean so much for Georgia within the psyche of the fan base to get over that hump that we just talked about. 7 out of the last 7 times they haven't been able to get over. It's the Kirby Smart Saban deal. It's the Georgia over Alabama deal. And it's understanding when they made the shift from Mark Richt to Kirby Smart, and Kirby Smart told them everything that they need in order to compete with Alabama, they checked all the boxes. And so they've looked and they've said, hey, we've been patient, but we want a return on the investment. And they get another shot tonight at a return on that investment.
Yeah, 9-10 wins. That was my guy, Mark Richt. So I wasn't happy with the Dogs when they decided to move on, but that's the standard. They want to chase that championship. First time in 41 years, and they feel like they're knocking on the door. They feel like they're knocking on the door, and it felt like they were about to slam it through, and then the SEC championship game happened. And then once again, it's a setback. It feels like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. But I tell you what, you talk about what it means, and I know a lot of the country's like, I'm not going to watch. They'll be sucked in with this game, with the amount of storylines you just mentioned. And you talk about what it means to Georgia fans. It means, looking around Indianapolis, we've been all over the city here and in the fan center. I'd say it's 70% Georgia fans, because I think Bama fans are like, if we don't get it this year, we'll be back next year. We'll go to L.A., or we'll save our money and go back next year or the next year. It means a lot to Georgia fans, and it's evident to everyone you talk.
Yeah, remember the dynamic, by the way, Chris. One of the youngest Bama teams you'll ever see, one of the most veteran-laden Georgia teams that you'll ever see. You know, this is a year for Bama. It's been the year for Georgia all year long.
Yeah, and if they don't win it, those fans are just going to be crushed making the trip from Athens, Georgia. All right, I'm going to take you guys back to debate class. I'm going to give you one team, and depending on who I call on, you have to make the case for that team to win. Make the case for Georgia to finally snap that losing streak to Alabama tonight. Danny.
So, Chris, football's a team game.
Yep.
And you win with all 11 players. Mm-hmm. You don't win with just one. Bama has the edge at Bryce Young at quarterback, but Georgia has the best players, all 11 on offense, all 11 on defense. They they slam the door down today and get that first win. I think that's what it's all about. That's what Kirby needs to be selling. Defense wins championships. The defense of this Georgia team is the most dominant in the country. They make the adjustments they do. All they have to do, I know it sounds like it's too easy, they do just have to keep Bryce Young in check. If they do that, they will win this game.
Josh, make the case for the underdogs, still weird to say, the underdogs from Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, so forget everything Danny just said. Here's what's going to happen, because he just tried to nail Jello to the wall, and that is trying to contain Bryce Young. Here's my problem. Here's what I'm going to go back to, Christopher and Daniel. Everybody you just mentioned was also on the field in December. And yet I watched Jamison Williams have a disproportionate impact, and I watched Bryce Young have a disproportionate impact. I get a more healthy Brian Robinson here. And so what I think about is I think about all that. I think about how important true five-star caliber players are that live up to their potential in this game. And then I also think about how big the mental edge actually matters here. Like, I think it's overblown a lot of times, but you and I were talking yesterday. Yeah, it's one thing if Georgia gets a 10-0 lead. We already saw that within the last month. What happens if Bama gets a 10-0 lead, Danny? What if it's third quarter and it's 27-17 Bama from the neck up? I don't know where Georgia is at that point. So those are my reasons, the Crimson title roll.
Got a few Georgia fans hanging out behind you. Hey, you're live on TV. Give us some under-the-radar players,
I
fellas.
told you it was all Georgia fans.
closer.
I told you.
It's COVID time, so you need a rope behind you. You can't let those people, get that close to you. Hey, give us some under-the-radar players who you think could be X factors tonight. Danny, who is your potential X factor?
So I look at Georgia. I'm leaning Georgia in case you haven't noticed yet, even though you haven't made the case for him. I look at James Cook. Like, this game cannot be – we're talking about all Bryce Young for Alabama. You do not want a Bryce Young versus Stetson Bennett game. So if I'm looking at the offense, if I'm looking at Todd Monken, I'm trying to take the pressure off him. Yes, the run game will matter, but if you just try to line up and run the ball against Alabama's front, you're not going to have that much success. So I look for a James Cook who's very versatile. He can catch it out of the backfield. They're going to find ways to get a ball in his hands, whether it's a screen route, some option routes against the backers. Those are mismatches that Georgia can find. So I think James Cook, whose reception total is at 23.5, I love the over on that one if you want to put something on that. But I think James Cook is a player who can make a huge impact for this Georgia offense.
I actually have got a little prop bet of my own that kind of correlates with my guy. My guy is Jaleel Billingsley for Alabama. If you just laid it out, Danny, and you said, all right, you still got Jamison Williams. Obviously, the Georgia adjustment is A, bring more pressure, B, focus on number one in Crimson, and that being Jamison Williams. The C there is John Mechie's out. Who are they going to? There's mismatches somewhere. You just got to find them. Who are they going to? Man, that 19 there, that Jaleel Billingsley, he's just been there all year. It reeks of 2015 when O.J. Howard just hung out on that roster all year, and then they waited until the title game to break him out. You were mentioning the James Cook prop bet. How about over 16.5 receiving yards for Jaleel Billingsley? I feel kind of confident that's taken care of by halftime. And I think if anyone steps up that makes you go, oh, wow, didn't see that coming, I think it's Jaleel Billingsley, in which case you can say you saw him coming, or James Cook if you watched HQ.
National championship coming up tonight. Don't have much time left for picks, but we want to get them from you. Danny, Georgia's favored by 2.5 points. The total is 52.5.
So I like Georgia laying the 2.5, but I love the under. I think Georgia's defense is going to showcase they're going to flex their muscles once again. We saw them kind of get back on track versus Michigan. I think they pressure Bryce Young. I think it's going to be a defensive battle all game long. So I love the under 52.5.
Chris, I'm on the other side, taking Bama plus the points, taking Bama to win outright. Best quarterback, head coach, and player, I feel are all on the same side. That plus pedigree means enough to me to take Nick Saban and Bama.
Josh Pate, Danny Kanell covering the national championship for us tonight in Indianapolis. Thanks a lot, guys. We'll talk to you again later on this afternoon and evening. Cover 3 podcast, the crew sharing their locks for the title game, including player props as well. And Josh can be heard on the Late Kick podcast. He'll have a fresh one coming tomorrow after the national championship game and into the off season, which is going to be an interesting one in college football, to say the least.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.